Hi, guys. Welcome back. What if the only thing that was holding back your diet and exercise routine was actually your diet? Welcome to the world of intuitive eating. Today's YouTuber that we're going to be visiting is Marjorie. The name of her YouTube channel is A Pinch of Healthy, and she's going to be talking about 10 lessons she learned when she actually quit dieting. So I'm going to be quiet. Let's hear what Marjorie has to say.
This 10 things I learned once I stopped dieting. And just for the record, I define diet as anything outside of you that tells you what, how much, or what time of day, anything like that, to eat for the sake of weight loss. Number one, dieting is in essence declaring civil war on yourself. And essentially what you're trying to do is divorce the mind from the body. You're trying to override your body. You're trying to beat it into submission with the mind. A lot of what is in your mind making you try to do that are these outside ideas that come in. And so essentially what you do is try to take on those ideas and override the body with your mind. The problem is body and mind are designed to work together. They should never be divorced. So what happens when you go on a diet is your body turns against you in a variety of ways. So your body starts to undermine you. Leptin and ghrelin are two hormones that they release to regulate hunger and fullness. And what your body does, it can't tell the difference between a diet and a famine. And so it undermines you and it makes you hungrier because it's trying to keep you alive. It reduces the hormones that make you feel full and it increases the ones that make you feel hungry to try to get you to eat. Yeah, so the last thing your body will do, if you're one of those really strong-willed people and you can still override all of this with your mind, your body will actually turn on you and start to slow down your metabolism. Now we saw this with the Biggest Loser article that came out, and we see this probably, you might have seen it within yourself. If you're still following a diet strictly, you may stop losing weight, or you might actually start to gain weight, and it makes you think you're doing something wrong, like something's wrong with you. Number two, dieting, because of that mind-body divorce, it pulls you out of alignment. Alignment might be a term a lot of you are not familiar with. It just means that you're centered. It means that your actions line up with your core values, your instincts, and your intuition. All of that is operating in unison. Because of that mind-body divorce, you will feel conflict inside and you might not know why. You will feel maybe anxiety, you may feel frustration, you may feel confusion. That's because of that civil war that's going on inside of you. Number three.
So what do you guys think about that? Does your body kind of come out of alignment when you're in a diet? And do you kind of feel like you are under a civil war where, maybe your head and your stomach and body are kind of on different pages? Whatever your thoughts are, I find this extremely interesting. Please share in the comments. Let's hear a little bit more about what she has to say, and then I'll maybe pipe in a little.
Three, listening to and valuing your own intuition is the ultimate form of self-love and self-care. The tragic thing is that dieting shuts all of that down. It starts with your instincts around food, but it really branches out to everything else because essentially what you're telling your body is what you're telling me is not important. I'm going to override you with my mind. So when you don't value that intuition, it kind of makes it disappear, not just with regards to food, but with a lot of things in your life. Intuition speaks really softly, and I'm learning that you have to get quiet and still and find spaces of time that you can kind of block out all the outer noise to just sit in silence and listen to yourself. Number four, what you tell yourself, what you feel about yourself, and how you value yourself is infinitely more important than what you put in your mouth or what the scale says. I'm learning that the intention behind the action, the thought, the feeling that motivates the action is of infinite importance. Where are you coming from? Are you trying to beat your body into some sort of submission, or are you truly caring for yourself? That's where self-care comes in. When you're trying to nourish your body, not trying to make it smaller or to shape it or to make it clean. I think a lot of this clean eating stuff has gotten out of hand. That's a rabbit trail. I can cover that in another video. But that intention behind and then the feeling after, that stuff matters way more than what you're feeding yourself. That's not to say we shouldn't educate ourselves about nutrition. I believe that intuitive eating people call it gentle nutrition because I believe that there shouldn't be any hard and fast rules. You should be able to have whatever you want, and sometimes it's okay if you eat something that's not perfect. But your thoughts, what you say to yourself, what you feel about yourself, and how you value yourself, that matters. That really matters. If how you value yourself is some yardstick attached to a scale or a BMI, that's really damaging to you.
So check this out. When I was finding these intuitive dieting videos, there's a whole bunch of them, but they're kind of like the smaller, lesser known cousin of the diet world because they're a little bit anti-diet, right? And a lot of the videos are suppressed. And what I mean by that is like you'll find a ton of videos, but they literally all have like 40 or 50 views. It's almost as if they never grew. They never really took hold. And I'm wondering if it's because people either decided, no, I'm going to diet, or maybe I'm going to seek help for my weight loss, whether through surgery or through medicines or what have you, right? But what she's saying is true. You are more important than your weight loss. Sometimes we do stress so much about our diet that we end up going on binges, right? Sometimes I wonder if the reason walking is so popular is because when you walk long term, maybe your body tells itself, I need to lose some weight so I can be more efficient at walking. Because what she's saying is the other end of it, that whenever you starve yourself, your body doesn't know if that's you trying to go on a diet, right? Or if it's just a situation where in society there's a famine going on. So your body is telling itself to store the fat. But again, if you keep walking, I would imagine your body would eventually tell itself, I need to lose weight so I can be more efficient at walking. Tell me your thought.
Number 5, binge eating and emotional eating are almost exclusive to people who have dieting or restrictive pasts. This was a huge aha to me. I had no idea. Diets cause us to become kind of obsessed with food. It gives food this greater pull than what we would have naturally. Again, it's that your body kind of backfiring on you. It's making you want to eat more, to not restrict yourself. So when food has a greater pull, when you encounter a stressful time in your life, of course, food is going to be the thing that you go to try and self-medicate and self-soothe. Number 6, this is a big one. Restriction doesn't have to be actual physical restriction to cause rebound eating. If you are telling yourself, I shouldn't eat the chocolate, or I shouldn't eat the cookies, or I shouldn't eat the thing, whatever it is, and you're sitting on your hands trying not to do it, it's just gonna, again, put you at war with yourself, and you're just gonna wanna rebel and eat whatever the thing is that you're not supposed to eat. If you just kind of chill out about it and just relax and pay attention to your natural hunger and fullness signals, and pay attention to what sounds good. Food is not going to have as much of a pull for you. This is already happening for me. I still have some foods that have pull for me, and I'm working on that. Number 7, dieting is marketed in a way that appeals to our negative feelings about ourselves. Fear, shame, guilt, self-doubt, self-loathing. Dieting appeals to all of those things. It even creates some of those things and then provides the solution. It's a lot more pervasive with females. We are programmed from a very early age to value beauty and thinness. I heard somewhere that girls' self-esteem peaks at age 9, and that is just tragic. But I could do a whole separate video on that. And that marketing undermines our most basic instinct, the ability to feed ourselves and to eat. I had a baby a year ago, Mallory, and they come out knowing how to eat, okay? She, within 30 minutes of being born, she was able to latch on and be fed, whether that's latching on to the mother or to a bottle. However you choose to feed your child, they know how to eat, okay? They know when to stop. When she's done, she's done. We are born with that, and dieting messages tell us that we're messed up and that we're wrong somehow. And that's really damaging. Number 8.
That's really, really kind of interesting there if you think about it. So, what she's saying is that because we start dieting and because we see other people dieting, it kind of creates this situation where we don't really listen to our intuitive gut that from birth tells us when we're hungry and when we're not. The difference is when your baby latches onto you as a mom, right, and you feed your baby, you're not feeding her Snickers bars, cherry Coke and ice cream floats, right? But in your adult life, sometimes you do that. And so I totally agree with everything that Marjorie here is saying, except to a point, because the reality is the reason many of us are in the spot we are now and taking on this walking challenge or trying to avoid sugars, right, is because a lot of us have been eating whatever we want. We've been doing this intuitive eating, and our gut doesn't tell us when to stop. We have that second and third bowl of cereal at midnight, which is the worst time to be eating, right? So again, I think there's a balance, but there is something poisonous about dieting because we've seen a bunch of dieters. They all have weird things that are like not like normal. And that's becoming the normal, right? Where everybody has this like hang up on foods and certain diets and stuff. So again, share with me your thoughts.
8. Health and wellness in our culture oftentimes is just synonymous with weight loss or thinness. A lot of times when you hear, oh, it's about wellness or eating healthy, a lot of times what people really mean is being thin. Some segments are even trying to like borrow from the body positivity movement, and they just don't get it. Weight Watchers, for example, has kind of grabbed onto this and tried to tell people, oh, you're worth it, but yet here, let us still help you lose weight. True health and wellness has to do with the whole being. Your thoughts, your feelings, your physical well-being, your emotions, your spirituality, all of those things. Number 9, this one's really tragic. Dieting distracts us from the very things that have true meaning and significance in our lives. It distracts you from figuring out what you're passionate about, or finding work that you're meant to do, or figuring out your life's purpose. You're too distracted into molding your body and thinking that that is going to bring you happiness and fulfillment. And there's this idea out there that once you get your body into shape, that all these other things will fall into place. And that's just not true. And last, number 10, I know I have experienced this. Once you step outside of the dieting mentality, you start to see how damaging and destructive and messed up and dysfunctional the whole thing is. You see how dieting just has its tentacles around our culture. It is just embedded in so many things. And dieting, even moderate dieting like Weight Watchers, it causes injury to people. Physical injury, it causes mental, emotional, psychological, and spiritual injury as well. So I hope this has given you some motivation to step outside of dieting and just kind of take a step back and see what your intuition is telling you, and to prioritize the things that are actually meaningful to you. So this might be one of the most important videos that I've ever made, and I really want it to get out there. I want these ideas to get out there. So share it on whatever platform you see fit. Share it with dieters, and I think I'm gonna ask y'all to tweet it to Oprah.
So let me get this straight. You want us to reach out to Oprah and quit our dieting? Oh, I bet. Listen, everybody, I think that you need to put yourself ahead of your diet. I think sometimes we hear mixed messages all the time. For example, the other day we're hearing about how great diets are. With her, we're hearing about how horrible they are. I think there's a good place in the middle where we can get to, right? Where we can kind of take control of what we're eating without letting it take control of our lives, right? Why don't you go grab your shoes? Let's go for a walk. That guy's got his windows up and you can still hear his car stereo blaring. And he's not listening to music, he's listening to like AM talk radio. It's like, holy crap, are you deaf or what? Good morning, Venters, how are you? Good morning. I hope you're, God, what's today? Wednesday, so I hope your Thursday is going well. Hopefully you're having a beautiful start to your day. 7 a.m. here in Arizona, so I'm imagining if you're in the East Coast, it's already 10. Hopefully you're having a good day at work. I kind of imagine people on the East Coast coming home and watching me in the afternoons, but maybe they're watching each morning the previous day. Who knows? As long as you're watching Walk Talk Vent, you're doing good. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. Guys, I've got a couple of interesting stories to talk about today. The first thing that I noticed on my YouTube news feed is it looks like the Russians have put a satellite weapon up into orbit. And I thought that was really interesting. Could you imagine if they took down some key satellites and all of a sudden there goes the internet or there goes your TV? Could you imagine that? You're watching your news on the television, all of a sudden, bloom, it's gone. You know, what I always question is, how the heck can Russia create all these missiles that are hypersonic speeds and all these weapons that go up into orbit, you know, these satellite weapons? How the heck do they do it when we spend $1 trillion a year on our defense budget and they only spend about 1/10 of that? How the heck do they do it? And why does our military keep asking for more money? Who knows? All I know is let's cut our military out and let's grab the Russian military strategists. They're able to somehow, some way get amazing things done with 1/10 of the money. So apparently every time our military needs more money on top of the $1 trillion a year they already get, apparently that's their way of saying we're only 1/10 as efficient as the Russian military. So again, I love this country. I feel like deep down we have UFOs and we're way ahead of the competition. But the way we talk about how we're nothing compared to these other countries who only spend 1/10 of the money we do. Apparently China has better drones and a growing navy, right? But apparently China can do it on 1/10 of the money that we spend as well. So I don't know what it is, but if you combine China and Russia's spending, we spend 4 times more than them combined. Just seems amazing that they're the ones that have all the amazing technological advances. Oh yeah, they don't. We have better stuff. We just don't talk about it. We just ask for more and more money about it. So somebody's fibbing, right? Either these other countries are just way better than us, or somebody's fibbing. And remember, don't ever forget, when it comes to cyber warfare, for every 1 American that we have on duty, there's 50 Chinese that are on duty. So again, somehow with all this money we have, we are behind the 8 ball in every way, shape, or form. And yes, as I speak, millions upon millions of US seniors are getting phone calls from people in India and Pakistan whose sole goal is to steal their identity. And that is your wow, we are really impressive here in America report for the morning. Yay! Now on to some good news. So the truth is, Russia did launch some sort of satellite weapon. I have no doubt that we already have probably dozens, if not hundreds, of satellite weapons installed. We probably started doing it in the 80s when President Reagan was urging us to start the Star Wars campaign, right? So I'm sure we have plenty of stuff going on up there. But again, now that we know the Russians have a weapon up there, it's probably good news for the Pentagon, because it means we can reach out to Congress and try to get more money appropriated and more monies approved, right? Oh, yeah, it's a never-ending money grab, and it's just disgusting. But I guess it is what it is. So I figure since we spend 10 times more than the Russians for every one satellite-based weapon they put up, I'm assuming we have 1,000, but I'm sure our Pentagon will tell us how we're way behind yet again. How can you be way behind yet spend so much more money? Just makes absolutely zero sense to me, and it never will. But it doesn't need to make sense to us, as long as it makes sense to whoever needs to collect the change, right? Whoever needs to collect the cents and the dollars, they'll find a way to get it done, and we'll all find a way to pay for it. So expect more money to be made off of the sweat and labor of Americans, probably sooner rather than later. But whatever you got to do to keep us safe, right? Just here's another dollar. Hey, on good news, check this out. Man's driving to work, sees a house on fire, goes to the house, realizes that the woman and a baby are in the front yard. He asks them if they're okay. The mom points to the house and says, my baby's stuck in the house, right? So apparently she had 2 babies. This gentleman's name was John Stickovich from Cleveland, Ohio. He runs into the burning house. The flames from upstairs are starting to create a smoke that's engulfing all of the house, and he can barely see and he can barely breathe. So he takes a quick step out to get a breather, and then he goes back in and he hears the cry of a baby. He feels around based on the sound of the child's screams, and he's able to grab this little baby and take the baby out to his mom and save the day. John Stickovich in Cleveland, Ohio, you are a hero, my friend. And check this out. Not that all babies aren't equally special, because they are, but he happened to save the other baby's twin. And you guys know as well as I do, because we're not twins in many cases, but in some cases we are. But we all know that twins are especially close. And wouldn't it have been an absolute travesty if the one twin baby had to grow up knowing that its twin died in a fire, you know? So John, you have literally saved the future, not for one child, not for a family, but for both children. Because I don't know about you guys, but if I knew that I had a twin that died at any point in the past, that would be exceptionally sad. As a matter of fact, a couple months back on the news here in Arizona, there was a situation where they had talked about a twin whose other twin had passed away. And I thought that it was a very, very sad situation. I think it was a college football team, and I think it was either Iowa or Minnesota. But anyway, they had like this elderly sister duo, and they might not have even been twins, but they looked a lot alike. And both of them had been fans of the football team. And again, I'm not sure if it was Iowa or Minnesota, and it might have even been another football team, because it's a story that I heard on the local Arizona news a couple months back. But one of the sisters had passed away, and the other one was still going, to the football games. And they kind of paid tribute to both sisters. And I thought that was a real beautiful story. Again, if somebody ever loses a twin, and maybe you are a twin that lost your brother or sister, God, I really feel for you, because, when you see somebody that literally looks just like you, has the exact same DNA, and something happens to them, oh my God, that's got to be real disconcerting. You no longer think that you're going to live forever when your twin passes. And when your twin passes, you don't really want to live forever anymore, right? You want to be able to be reunited with your twins someday. So John Stickovich of Cleveland, Ohio, man, good job. Seriously, could you guys imagine running into a burning home not once but twice? And they tell you, when you run out of a burning home, don't run back in. That's like a bad omen. But he did. He ignored his own safety for the lady's baby and the twins' brother or sister. I don't know if, what sex the twins were, but either way, wonderful, wonderful news. That is quite impressive, Mr. Stickovich from Cleveland, Ohio. Hey, that just goes to show you, keep walking. That way, if there's ever a fire and you need to run in, you'll have the you'll have the stamina to do it just by walking. So since we did a good American story with Mr. Stikovich in Ohio, and we did a good national story with the Russians launching the space-based weapon, now let's go to our friends up north in Canada, Isaiah Hoffner, Hofner, or Isaiah Hofer, Hofer. It was written both ways in this little good news article that I read. He's a Manitoba potato farmer, and he needed to get dozens of volunteers because when he started digging up his potatoes for this year's crop, he didn't just have the 2 million pounds that he was going to be selling. Guys, he had a whopping 12 million pounds of potatoes. So all of a sudden, this guy has basically a surplus of 10 million pounds of potatoes. So he rounded up dozens of volunteers, and instead of selling these potatoes at a profit, or even a slight loss, because remember, you have 10 million potatoes, even if you sell them at a loss, that's quite a bit of money worth of potatoes. But check this out. The Manitoba farmer, Isaiah Hoffner, decided to go ahead and donate all these potatoes. So check this out. Dozens of volunteers were able to round up basically 1,000 bags, each bag weighing 100 pounds, and he was able to donate it to a nonprofit company called FarmLink. And I just thought that was absolutely amazing. So FarmLink is a company that's able to help farmers take their food directly to the market for, people that might be in food situations. And each year they're able to save millions of pounds of produce for people in need, and they're able to connect farmers that have extra surplus like Mr. Hoffner did. But I just can't imagine that. Could you imagine a 10 million pound surplus of potatoes? Oh my goodness. So Mr. Hoffner, you had a chance to sell those potatoes at profit. You had a chance to even sell them at a loss, and you would have pocketed a ton of money. But instead, you decided to do the awesome thing and give that food away to people in need. And not only did that food go to people in need in Manitoba and throughout Canada, but some of that food even found its way down to California and some of the US states in between. So I thought that was really wonderful. When you feed, I'll go over here where there's a little more shade. When you feed your family, that's a beautiful thing. When you're able to feed family, neighbors, and friends, that's a great thing. But when you're able to feed thousands of people, God, that is an absolute miraculous thing. Thank you, Mr. Hoffner. Thank you for taking the time to be a part of the farming community in both Canada and America. Farmers, I know that your numbers are dwindling, and I know there's a lot more big farmers than small farmers, but thank goodness for future farmers of America, and I'm sure Canada has its own chapter of future farmers. We need more farmers. We don't want that institution to go by the wayside. We want people to consistently grow up, learn the farming trade, and stay in the farming business. It's a family business, right? It goes back many generations in many cases. We don't want those links severed. We want those people staying in the farming industry. I don't think we need 1 million people like Bill Gates buying up all the farms. I think we need more small farmers that can learn how to raise agriculture successfully, not only in this country, but also Canada and all around the world. Farmers really do feed us, so that's a real blessing. He said that over 40 years of his experience as a farmer, he had never in his life seen such a surplus. And on top of that, you imagine he's spoken with a lot of farmers throughout his 40 years. None of the farmers he had spoken with had ever mentioned a story of such a surplus. So, holy moly, we're going to be eating French fries for the next month in Manitoba. That is awesome. You know, a lot of times we downplay the potato and we talk about how, you know, McDonald's has these French fries that are so well preserved that if you put them in a mason jar and come back to them 5 years later, they still look preserved and like you could eat them, right? But the reality is, God bless the potato. Potatoes feed a lot of people every single day. Same with corn. A lot of those staples that we kind of knock and act like they're no big deal, they're actually the hugest deal in the world. They feed us, you know? And I can't tell you how many times I've had a protein-based meat along with potatoes and corn, you know? Maybe some rice. So, you know, I'm one of these guys that's why I think you need a balanced diet. If everybody was relying on vegetables, then we're gonna need people like Farmer Hoffner to have surpluses all the time. By people mixing up their diets, right? Some people eat nothing but meat, some people eat nothing but vegetables, some people eat somewhere in the middle. It's that balance that makes the world go round. You disrupt that balance, you probably make things quite difficult, not only in this country, but in the whole of the world. So, again, I think these things are fascinating. I even think the whole space weapon in Russia is fascinating too. Could you imagine, guys? You look up in the sky, and maybe it's nighttime, and you're looking up at the moon, and you're marveling at how gorgeous the moon looks in the night sky. And then all of a sudden, you see a little pinprick of light or fire. And that could be the start of a WAR, you know? Could you imagine that? You look up and you're like, what was that? It looked like a tiny little spark of fire out there by the moon. And you end up finding out that it was some satellite being destroyed. And here's the thing, I don't know where the satellites are. I assume they're a little bit closer to us than the moon. But I also assume that some of them are big enough that, you know, if they were hit and they did explode, I'd imagine you'd be able to see some of them, potentially, at least from certain spots in the world, right? And again, I keep thinking that's going to happen for some reason. Does anyone else think that's going to happen, where one day you're going to wake up and you're going to turn on your TV and it's just not going to work, you know? Or you're going to turn on your computer and it's going to fire up, but the internet's not going to work, and you're just going to assume it's a problem with your cable or internet provider, but it's really something bigger, you know? And then when we find out when we wake up, Mala will find out at 2 or 3 in the morning because she can't sleep, you know? Mala, you're going to be the first one that you're going to have to make sure that you tell us in the comments, you know, hey, it's happened. The internet is out. Oh yeah, you won't be able to, Mala. The internet will be out. So Mala will find out first at 1 or 2 in the morning. She'll try telling us all, but it'll be in vain because we won't be able to communicate anymore. So here's the thing I want you guys to remember. If we wake up tomorrow and the internet is out, if it's out for months at a time, right, that could affect everything from our food and water supply, right? That could be dangerous. But if it's only out for a day or two or a couple of days, just keep doing your walking, even if you can't see me on a video. You don't need YouTube to go on your walk. If you don't know what to do with yourself because there's no TikTok or YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, don't stress. Just go for a couple more walks. And while everybody else is killing themselves and jumping off rooftops and jumping off cliffs and riding over the edge of mountains, you will have your walk to keep you alive and safe. Isn't that wonderful? Oh my God, I would have jumped off a cliff, but luckily, Jesse gave me the ability to walk. Actually, I didn't give you the ability at all. You always had it within you. You just decided to walk. You needed a partner. Here I am. If you're brand new listening to us, this is not a show talking about Russian weapons. It's not a show talking about potatoes from Canada. And it's not a show talking about house fires where twins are saved in Ohio. It is a fitness channel. We walk every day. We drink water every day, and we avoid sugar every day. And many of us have been walking together for 2 months now, and we're all starting to lose a couple of pounds and quite a few inches. So If you're interested in joining us on our walk, subscribe, join us. People say that they enjoy walking with us, so you might just be one of those folks. Guys, I honestly think that the best exercise routine is one where it doesn't feel like exercise. And whether you're listening to me or whether you're listening to music or another YouTuber or TikTokers, you are actually exercising while you're doing it. And if listening to videos makes it a little bit easier and more fun for you to put one foot in front of the other, then I say go for it. One of the things that really is a bummer is when you have to constantly fight to stay motivated to do something. And I suppose there are one or two of you that has to find motivation when it comes to walking. But I also have a feeling there's a handful of us that have legitimately become, I don't want to say addicted anymore, maybe they've become to where they really enjoy their daily walk and it is a part of their lives now. And again, if you're new and you're listening to this and you're contemplating doing something about your weight loss, whether it be surgery, whether it be medications, whether it be a certain specialized diet, what I urge you to do is baby step into whatever you do. And the best way to baby step is to just start with a 10 or 15 minute walk. And if you can start doing a 10 or 15 minute walk, preferably in the morning before everything gets started, I think you can eventually baby step that 10 or 15 minute walk up to an hour or more. And when you start walking an hour or more each day, and you can chop that up into 2 little half-hour walks, what you'll find is that after 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, you'll start losing weight, and it's not 3 or 4 pounds. Guys, you can really lose a significant amount of weight. So if you absolutely need to lose 50 or 60 pounds, prepare to walk for an hour to an hour and a half a day, and within 6 months to a year, you're probably going to lose 40, 50, or even the whole 60 pounds. Now, you can take that with a grain of salt, because I'm sure most people do. But if you watch my last couple videos, you're going to see that people really are losing these huge amounts without messing with their diet, simply by walking. Now, remember, if you don't mess with your diet and you walk and you lose a bunch of weight, that doesn't mean that you're necessarily in the clear. There are plenty of skinny people that look great on the outside that still have some issues with their blood pressure or their cholesterol or their, whatever situation they might be dealing with. So there's still a situation where you still want to go see your doctor once or twice a year, still have them perform their labs, right? So you know where your levels are sitting, so to speak. And then you can plan accordingly. But I guarantee you one thing, if you end up losing 50 or 60 pounds, your doctor's going to be exceedingly happy, and I have a feeling that more than likely your lab work is going to look wonderful. One of the things that I did early in this plan is I started giving up my sweet cereals and my bacon and egg breakfasts, gave that up for oatmeal. If you do eat cereal and you just don't like oatmeal, try to go down to a cereal that maybe doesn't taste as sweet, Go from Captain Crunch, maybe down to Raisin Bran or Honey Nut Cheerios. And then once you're done with that box, see if you can go to regular boring Cheerios or Corn Flakes without sugar, right? So those are the little things that I did to get my breakfast up to par. And one of the reasons that I wanted to go to boring breakfasts is because every now and then I skip breakfast. And what I mean by skipping breakfast is instead of eating it at 7:30 or 8 when I get home from my walk in the morning, I prolong it maybe till 9:30 or 10. At 9:30 or 10, I might still have my bowl of oatmeal, but instead of having a snack at 9:30 or 10, I'm eating my breakfast. And then at 1 or 12:30ish, when my lunch period rolls around, I'm able to go from breakfast to lunch. And just by doing that little delay of breakfast, I was able to skip that mid-morning snack. Guys, that mid-morning snack is where you're going into your pantry
and you're grabbing the Entenmann's donuts. You ever had an Entenmann's donut? Oh my God, they're delicious, right? That's where you go into your freezer and you get yourself a little bowl of ice cream, right? And believe it or not, when you lose 20, 30, 40 pounds over the next couple of months, you're gonna be able to give yourself a treat like that, and it's not gonna make you blow up and gain an extra 3 pounds, because you're immediately gonna go out and walk it off. Every time you walk a half-hour walk, especially if it's a little brisk, you have the ability to lose about 150 calories, maybe even a little more. Now, if you look at the back of your Coca-Cola can, you'll notice that that can is about 150 calories. So imagine this, imagine you're in a situation where every single day you have a can of Coke for your lunch and you have a can of Coke for your dinner. Well, if you can start doing what a lot of walkers do, which is find a way to take a 15 to 30-minute walk during your lunch break, you might be able to eliminate the calories on that daily Coke. You combine that with a half-hour walk at home, whether it be in the morning or evening, and voila, all of a sudden you're done with both Cokes. Yay! Guys, this plan really, really works. A lot of people don't believe it works, but you want to know something? My walks prove that nobody else is walking. So how can anybody make a definitive statement about the effectiveness of walking when nobody's doing it? And the people that are walking, ask them, because 100% of us will tell you, oh yeah, it does work. Oh yeah, it is easy. Oh yeah, I do walk crazy amounts because it's easy. The gentleman, Wayne Cooney, that lost 60 pounds was almost embarrassed at how easy it was, you know? So just think about that the next time you're on a walk and you feel like, oh, ho-hum, this isn't doing much. It really, truly is. The key to walking, if you're watching for the first time, and this is gonna freak you out, but don't let it freak you out because it comes with an asterisk. The key to walking is that unlike a lifting routine where you wanna lift out 3 or 4 times a week and rest the other 3 days a week, with walking, it really behooves you to put your shoes on and get out each and every day. But Jetchy, 7 days a week is impossible. Well, it's not impossible, especially if you enjoy it. But even if it is somewhat difficult for you, because you walk every single day, if there's ever a situation where, you need to run a friend to the airport or you need to go out of town and you're going to be going on an 8-hour flight over the ocean, because you walk every day, I assure you, you can take a day off from walking whenever you want, okay? And if you resolve to drink nothing but water instead of sodas and sweet coffees and sweet juices, because you drink water every single day, it's going to enable you to have a Coke or a glass of orange juice or a sweet coffee whenever you want. And then to conclude, because you're avoiding sugar every single day, it's going to enable you to be able to have a piece of cake or a Snicker bar or a milkshake with your kids, grandchildren, or friends whenever you want. And if you don't drink beer too much and you're willing to cut your beer down to little or none, then again, because you're not drinking alcohol, you're going to be able to have an alcoholic beverage whenever you want, okay? If you're trying to wean off alcohol because you feel like you have an alcohol or a problem with alcohol, then, once you get off it, stay off it, Don't tempt yourself by trying to get back into that world, you don't need that. Same thing with your cigarettes. If you have 20 cigarettes in a pack, wean yourself down. See if you can smoke 19 today instead of 20. See if next week you can get that down to 18. And if every week you just wean yourself off of 1 cigarette a day, you're going to be cigarette free in about 5 months. So again, there's little things that you can do to make your world a little bit healthier. And by baby stepping these things 1 little step at a time, you can accomplish amazing things. Yay! Jesse's teaching us that we can accomplish amazing things. Isn't that amazing? So again, guys, I want you guys to have a happy, beautiful day. Don't think too hard about the Russians up in space trying to knock out our satellites. That's not really a big deal that you can do anything about anyway. Don't really stress about fires and blazing in your neighborhood, because we want you to have positive thoughts, okay? Just remember that you could be a Mr. Stickovich type person, and you could be a hero, but it's better to be a hero when you're healthy. So you got to get healthy for yourself so you can do amazing things with your body in case you ever need to, okay? Hopefully you never need to. But anyway, I want to wish you a beautiful day. Have a good one. I'll see you later.